Guys, Jeff here with the Common Sense Camper. Unfortunately, it's time to winterize this bad boy. So there's a lot of dealerships out there, RV dealerships, that do winterizing. They do a very good job, done professionally, but it's expensive. I've seen a low of $180 all the way up to $300. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some things that I do with my camper. I have done this successfully for about actually this will be the 4th year. With plumbing components. That's the most important thing with winterizing your camper, is making sure that your plumbing lines don't freeze and that you don't have water in it. Most of the dealerships, what they're going to do is they're going to hook up a compressor to the camper. They're going to pump air through the lines and get all the residual water out of those plumbing lines. Keep in mind with a camper, it's not like a house where you have copper, CPVC plumbing fittings. These are plastic, they're very cheaply made, very thin, and they break very easily. So a lot of you guys are very cautious about doing your own winterizing because of dealing with the compressor. You can put too much air on the line and blow those fittings out. Or maybe you're just not a handy person and you're just not used to doing this type of work. But I'm going to show you how to do it very easy, and I'm going to show you how to do it under $25. Yes, you heard that right. $25 will get you to winterize your camper by yourself. You don't need a compressor. You don't need the little adapter valve that you put prior to the water pump in order to inject the antifreeze into the line. Okay, one of the things you're going to want to do if you keep your camper in storage is you want to get all the residual water out of those lines. The best way to do that is by taking 3 of the caps off. I'm going to show you here under the camper what those are. And while you're driving, the nice thing about that is because you're going up and down hills, different inclines, sideways, left and right, that's going to allow a lot of that water to get out of the line. So one of the first things you want to take the plug off of is this line right here. That's your freshwater discharge line, and there's just a cap and you just unscrew it. So you want to take that one off. The next 2 lines you want to take off is your low water valves, and those are here. So you have a hot, I can't even reach them. You have a hot and a cold. That's the lowest point of your plumbing line. So that's going to get a lot of the water, probably 99% of the water out of those lines. I will caution you, the caps, all right, they have a little white washer in there. Sometimes that washer gets stuck on the line. You want to go ahead and pull that out and put it in the cap so you don't lose it. And then I just throw it in the front of my truck, and then we'll go to the next thing, which is the hot water heater. Alright, so the next thing you're going to want to do is get the residual water out of your water heater. In order to do that, you're going to have an access panel somewhere on the outside of the camper. Mine happens to be on the back. And unfortunately for me, they have this line right in the way of the plug. I don't know who designed that, but thanks a lot, whoever designed it that way. One of the things that I'd recommend is I marked my socket wrench and the socket and the extension with blue tape. That way I know which one it is, because I always seem to forget. Mine seems to work really well with a 15/16 inch. So you're going to put this underneath the line that's right in the way, and you're going to take that plug out. All right. So you're going to take that out, and you might get a little bit of water that comes out of it. So there you go. You definitely don't want that water in your camper over the winter. It will freeze and really screw up your water heater, and they're very expensive to replace. I think just to buy one, not including installation, is around $400 to $500. So you definitely don't want to forget to do this. Now, a lot of you are going to ask, do I put the plug back in? I do not put the plug back in, and I'll show you why when we go on the inside, because I'm going to shut the valve, the water valve, off to the water heater. So I'm going to leave this plug out. I'm just going to set it in here, and then in the spring when we get it out, I'll put the plug back in. But the reason I leave that plug out is if there is any water left in that water heater, I want it to be able to escape. So if there is water, the water is going to freeze and expand, and that way it has an outlet to get out of the water heater. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to shut the water supply off to your water heater. Now in my particular camper, it's actually under the bottom bunk. So I'm going to take this bed out because it's easier to just get it out of there instead of fighting with it. So I'm going to take the bed out. And then I've already removed the screws on this. So there's the water heater, okay? This is your supply valve. So the blue water, the cold water line, is going into this T, and that goes into your tank. So all you're going to do is you're going to shut this off, okay, because you don't want to get antifreeze in the water tank. Now if you do, it's not a big deal, but it's very hard to flush out in the spring, and your hot water is going to taste really bad for a long time. It's going to taste like antifreeze. So you just take that, turn that valve off. Now yours might be slightly different. It might be a different type of valve, but just shut the water off to it because you don't need to put antifreeze in this. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is, with the low hot and cold discharge plugs off and the fresh water discharge plug off, come into the camper. Now the beauty of this is you can do this at wherever you store your camper. So the pump will run off of the battery off of your vehicle. So you're going to come in here and you're going to hit your water pump. And you're going to turn that on. And you're going to hear water coming out even in the low discharge lines. Now I'll caution you, you don't want to leave this thing running for like 15-20 minutes because you will burn up the pump. But you want to run it just long enough until you hear the water, all the water is actually out of the lines. So with that pump on, you'll see it's pushing out the water out of the low end of the discharge lines. And again, you don't want to leave it run a long time. Maybe 5-7 minutes is enough. Okay, so now that we've gotten all the water out of the plumbing line, or let's say 99% of it, we've got the water out of the water heater, we've turned the supply line to the water heater off. The next thing you're going to do is put these caps back on your fresh water discharge line. And your low hot and cold lines. Unfortunately, mine are a little further back, so I've got to lay on the ground to do it. And you want to make sure these washers are still in there. If not, you can't buy these at any hardware store. They're a pretty standard washer. Now, I don't put them on there real tight, just enough so I know that the antifreeze is going to stay in there. The reason I don't put them on real tight is because they do tend to freeze up a little bit and swell, and sometimes they're hard to get off. I've actually had them to the point where I've had to take it off with a crescent wrench. So just kind of hand tighten them. Don't wrench them down. Don't need to wrench them down. Okay, and then I'll show you what the next step is. Okay, this is where the $25 comes into play. For my camper, it takes about 6.5 to 7 gallons of RV antifreeze. You don't want to use anything other than RV antifreeze to fill up the lines and make sure that I have enough antifreeze in all of the lines to all of the fixtures. Now, the caveat to this is in the spring. The only downfall I've ever found with this is in the spring, you're going to want to really clean those lines out really good because you're putting pure antifreeze into the lines, and you're going to have it in the fresh water tank as well. So what I do is I will take and put the garden hose into the freshwater tank. I will fill that up, and then I'll remove the discharge valve, and I'll do that about 2 or 3 times to get all that nasty stuff out of the freshwater tank. And then I will hook the hose up to the actual, what they call the city connection, which bypasses the freshwater tank, and wash and flush out the lines to all of the fixtures. And that's the only downfall I found of this, but other than that, for 25 bucks you can definitely winterize your own campers. Okay, so the best way I've found to get the antifreeze into this tank, because the valve on this it's almost straight. It has a little bit of angle to it, but not much. So I just took an old funnel I had, I heated up the bottom of it and melted it and put an angle on it so it sets in there a little easier. The best thing, and I couldn't find one when I was shopping for one, is like the ones they use like NASCAR. It's the funnel, and it has this kind of an accordion end to it, so you can use that. Another thing that my son came up with, if you don't have a funnel, is you could take a water bottle, something like this, and just cut the top of it off, and then set that in there and pour the antifreeze in that way. So we'll see. You know what? We'll see which one's easier. All right, so we're going to try the funnel. We'll see how easy that is with 1 gallon. I don't know, the funnel is working really well.
We never know. Okay, Dad, you're almost going to pour the whole thing in.
See, the first year I did this, I didn't have the funnel bent, and it was very hard to get the antifreeze in there.
Oh.
So last year, that's when I came up with the idea of melting it, kind of putting a bend to it.
So the water
now let's try it with the water bottle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut kind of a notch in it.
Okay, you want to show them?
Yep, so just cut a notch in it. And we'll try.
See this? It's actually working pretty well.
Any dripping out?
No. What did I say, Dad?
Water bottle. What would be really cool is if that actually screwed on there, huh? But it doesn't. Okay, so we have our 7 gallons of antifreeze in the freshwater tank, and I will say this, that we used the smart water bottle. The smart water bottle. It actually went quicker, and if you look, that actually seals right against the.
Then you can let it go.
Yeah, you can let it go. So
I mean, obviously not with a liquid in it, but.
No, you got to hold it.
Yeah.
But I bet if you had a washer, you could put around that little rubber washer. You'd probably stick that on there. And yeah, so it worked out really well. It worked better. It's cold out. I can't say my W's. It actually worked better than the funnel. So I'm going to put the lid back on. Again, make sure that your plugs are on your freshwater discharge line and your low, hot and cold discharge lines. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to open up the plumbing line, or the plumbing lines. And what we're going to do that is we're going to come into the camper. And do not film the sink, because your mom will have a fit, because it's disgusting. Because that's the other part of winterizing, is cleaning up the last trip, the mess. Actually, you could probably film that. So what you're going to do is turn on the water pump. Alright, and then you're just going to run some water. Alright, you're going to get water at first.
Then you'll see some.
And then eventually you're going to get the pink, which is what you're looking for.
Oh, there you go. There we go.
Alright, you want a bright pink, so that's good there. And you do your hot side, or cold side. I just did the hot side. So you do the cold side,
And fair warning, it does smell kind of bad.
Yeah, it smells like rotten eggs. All right, so that sink is done, and then you're gonna come into the bathroom. You're gonna do the same thing.
Well, if they have a bathroom in the camper.
Yeah, if you have a bathroom. So you're gonna do hot. I want to kind of get the air out of the line. Then you're gonna do the cold. All right. Then you want to do your commode. Now, what I do with the commode is while I'm doing this, since this is going to be in storage for a little while, so I'm going to take one of these tablets, poo-poo freshing, and you want to flush the toilet. Wait till you get pink in that. All right. You want to do your shower.
You guys might think this is a lot of work, but actually it's only for like 20 bucks, so it is fairly...
Yeah, it was $24 total. So turn the shower on.
Instead of paying $100.
Actually, it's more than that.
Oh.
You're talking $250 to $300. So hot, cold. All right, and then I like to turn the hot on. Take the wand off. Turn that on. Get a little into the line. Don't need much. All right. Turn that off. And for those of you with outdoor kitchens, do not forget the outdoor faucet. Very important. Come outside. Turn on your hot. Turn on your cold. And guys, that's it. It's as easy as it gets to winterize your camper. I have done this for 4 years now, and I've had no issues whatsoever with any of the fixtures. Like I said, the only thing you're going to want to do is purge it out really well with fresh water in the spring, because you will get that RV antifreeze taste if you don't clean the lines out really well. But for under $25, and I don't know, what did this take? Probably 30 minutes total. That was to flush the tank out, clean the lines, get the water out of
Plus
everything.
we did some searching up there and going to the restroom. So
yeah, so we had some restroom breaks, so maybe 20 minutes total.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's helpful, guys. Obviously, with also winterizing, I like to clean it. I like to take all the linens out, wash them for the spring, just kind of straighten up, tidy up, maybe take an inventory of things that we need, check the propane tanks, the battery, and so hopefully this is helpful. It's going to save you a lot of money, and again, it doesn't take a lot of tools. You don't need an air compressor. You don't need the bypass conversion kit for the pump to clean and purge out the lines and put the antifreeze into the pump. You just dump it right into the fresh water. 6 or 7 gallons will probably work for most campers and RVs. So this is Jeff and Liam with the Common Sense Camper, camping out.